better to have a divorced daughter than a dead one. Just let that sink in for a second. Those were the actual chilling words spoken by Solicitor General Twisha Sharma right inside the Supreme Court of India. It's a heavy, deeply sobering statement, right? And it strikes at the absolute heart of a tragedy that has completely captivated and devastated an entire nation. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into the incredibly complex, frankly heartbreaking, Twisha Sharma case. We're going to trace exactly how a local tragedy in Bhopal just snowballed into this massive, nationwide probe that literally required the intervention of India's highest judicial authority. And look, we're keeping this strictly to the facts, the timelines, and those profound societal questions this case brings up, maintaining a totally neutral and objective lens the whole way through.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. First, a tragic death in Bhopal. Then we'll look at two conflicting narratives, how the investigation escalates, when the Supreme Court intervenes, and finally, the broader societal impact. Let's get started. Section 1. A tragic death in Bhopal. Establishing the baseline facts. So let's start with the undisputed facts. We're talking about Twisha Sharma. She was a 33-year-old MBA graduate, a former model originally from Noida. On December 9, 2025, she married Samarth Singh, who's a practicing advocate. But then, less than 6 months into their marriage, on the night of May 12, 2026, Twisha was tragically found dead in her matrimonial home in Katara Hills, Bhopal. Now, the initial postmortem concluded the cause of death was asphyxia due to hanging. Those are the foundational facts. But the events leading up to that night, well, that's where things get incredibly complicated and heavily disputed. Moving on to Section 2. Two conflicting narratives, neutrally examining opposing claims. Now, what's really interesting about this case is how starkly different the two accounts of this marriage actually are. In any complex investigation, it's absolutely crucial to look at the opposing claims without jumping to conclusions, right? On one side, we have severe allegations from Twisha's family. They're officially claiming dowry harassment. Specifically, they allege her mother-in-law demanded an additional 2 lakh rupees right at the Vidai ceremony. Her father even alleged physical abuse, claiming Twisha was shoved by her husband during their honeymoon. But then you flip to the other side, and Samarth Singh's defense paints a completely alternate reality. During his interrogation, he claimed their relationship soured after Twisha got pregnant, and that she was highly distressed following an abortion. He also firmly countered those dowry claims, saying, actually, he and his family transferred 7 lakh rupees into Twisha's account. And he's even raised his own allegations regarding drug use and her overall mental state. Section 3. The investigation escalates, mapping the chaos. Okay, I want you to really look at this timeline because the crucial point here is just how incredibly fast this escalated. I mean, it went from a local matter to a massive national headline in the blink of an eye. The tragedy happened on May 12th. Just 3 days later, May 15th, an FIR is officially registered against Samarth and his mother. 6 days after that, on May 21st, amidst a ton of growing controversy, the Madhya Pradesh Home Department officially transfers the probe to the CBI. Literally the very next day, May 22nd, after being on the run, Samarth Singh surrenders at the Jabalpur High Court. And by May 25th, we're talking less than 2 weeks after the incident, the Supreme Court of India is already holding a hearing. That is a seriously compressed, chaotic timeline for a case of this magnitude. So why did it escalate so fast? Well, local Bhopal police faced intense, immediate scrutiny over some pretty severe procedural lapses, and this absolutely fueled public outrage. For instance, police noted the CCTV system at the house was technically defective, like the timestamp was inexplicably off by 2 days and 2 hours. Weird, right? Then there's the nylon gym rope allegedly used in the incident. It was actually missing during the initial AM's and Bhopal autopsy and only showed up a day later. And while all this confusion is happening, the husband, Samarth Singh, is absconding. He successfully evaded the police for 10 straight days, which prompted the Bar Council to immediately suspend his legal practice license. Ultimately, these concerns got so grave that the High Court had to step in and order a second, highly secure autopsy by a specialized forensics team flown in all the way from Ames, Delhi. Section 4. Supreme Court intervenes. Highest level oversight. The sheer volume of these irregularities, combined with the fact that the accused family is very high profile, meant this case needed the absolute highest level of oversight. And that brings us to a really pivotal moment. Chief Justice of India Surya Kant stated, "We will ensure whatever unfortunate incident has taken place is fairly and impartially investigated." The Supreme Court took suo motu cognizans here, meaning they stepped in entirely on their own accord. Why would they do that? Well, there was this growing narrative of institutional bias because the mother-in-law, Giribala Singh, is actually a former district and sessions judge. So the top court stepped in to guarantee absolute impartiality, stop the families from just battling it out in the media, and protect the integrity of the justice system from any perception of outside influence.
To guarantee that fair probe, the Supreme Court completely formalized the CBI takeover. The case was officially yanked out of the hands of the local police. The CBI immediately dispatched a special crime unit straight to Bhopal to reevaluate the crime scene and lock down evidence. They're now officially investigating under the Bhatia Nyaya Sanhita, specifically sections 82, 85, and 35. For those who might not know, those deal with dowry death, cruelty by a husband or relatives, and criminal acts done with a common intention. And this is all happening alongside investigations into the Dowry Prohibition Act. So the local police investigation, it's effectively over. This is now a top-tier federal matter. Section 5. The broader societal impact. Analyzing the underlying themes. Beyond all the legal maneuvering, the forensics, the intense courtroom drama, there's a deeply human element here that has really resonated across the country. During the investigation, this absolutely heartbreaking concept came to light: the good girl trap. WhatsApp chats between Twisha and her mother were revealed, and in them, Twisha said she felt trapped. She repeatedly sent SOS messages, saying she wanted to leave her 5-month-old marriage. But the tragic reality of our societal expectations often dictates that a woman just needs to endure it, to adjust. There's this deeply ingrained belief that a suffering daughter who saves her marriage is somehow virtuous, while a divorced one is a social failure. Even Twisha's own father admitted to the press that parents are often products of this exact same system, repeatedly telling their daughters to just adjust, instead of pulling them out of a highly toxic environment. Furthermore, this case highlights another deeply concerning issue we're seeing more and more in modern matrimonial disputes: the weaponization of mental health. Remember how, in his defense, Samarth's side immediately brought up Twisha's mental state, her distress over an abortion, and alleged drug use? Well, analysts reporting on this case have noted a rising, honestly disturbing trend. We're seeing psychological diagnoses, things like ADHD or bipolar disorder, being retroactively used, or in some cases entirely fabricated, just to build legal narratives. It's a deliberate strategy designed to discredit a spouse during a divorce or separation, basically shifting the focus completely away from allegations of abuse and putting it all on the victim's alleged instability. Which leaves us with a really profound question to consider as the CBI investigation continues to unfold. How does the societal pressure to adjust actually impact women in crisis? Look, the Twisha Sharma case is a devastating legal battle full of digital evidence and high court drama, for sure. But it is also a mirror. It's a mirror reflecting the immense and sometimes fatal pressures placed on women to just maintain the facade of a perfect marriage, often at the absolute expense of their own well-being. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it provided some clarity on the facts, the incredibly fast timeline, and the true gravity of this situation. Until next time, keep learning and keep asking those hard questions.